Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Let's Talk with David. And I have a special guest today who has some very unique work she's doing in the world and also a very personal story that she wants to share about how her life and her health have been significantly changed by this new technology that is just being brought to the world today. So please welcome my guest, Tenille Bentley. Hello,
Hello.
Tenille.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Welcome from the other side of the world.
Yes, I know we couldn't
Where
be
are
any
you right
further
now?
apart, could we?
Literally, I don't think so, 'cause you're
I'm in the land down under, so I'm in Perth, the most isolated city in the world. However, that was a very beautiful city, so, it's a long way away.
I've actually been there once in high school. I was in high school in Singapore, and we were on a school trip. We went camping in Western Australia, so I've been to your city, but it's not been recently.
No. Well, it's kind of got a little bit more of an upgrade since then.
Okay. No, that's great. What, do you do over there in Perth?
Well, I wear multiple hats. So I run a unique orchestra that is called Encoder, and what we do is we tune an entire orchestra, string orchestra, down to 432 hertz. We're working with Murdoch University and the University of Western Australia. And this is really around creating, using frequency of 432 hertz and ancient instruments. So bringing together the world of wellness and ancient instruments that were used traditionally for healing, and then the classical world, and merging them. And so we're doing that as a way to support anxiety, stress, as a mindfulness experience, as a meditative experience. So we measure it and quantify how it impacts people, and we also create. So it's a really beautiful experience. It's a concert experience, but it's also one that can be open or closed eyes, so people lie down or they stay seated. And we've found that all across to the world of UK, we've got psychotherapists now using this, and medical practitioners using this work for trauma patients, and it's been the most successful tool they've used. And I'm like, really? Yeah, it's just beautiful music, but it's done specifically tailored and done in a very specific way. So, yeah.
That is profound. So this is sound healing, using sound.
Yeah, sound. I kind of liken it more to sound therapy, because we move
Mhm.
more into the therapeutic space of sound. But it is using traditional sound healing instruments. There's a lot of instruments that we use that most people haven't seen, so they're from all weird corners of the world. And then my main instrument's my voice, and so that's one part of my hat. And the other part of my hat is I run the Emotional Literacy and Mindfulness Academy. We run that for children, and at the moment, and adults now, and teenagers. So this is really looking at how to explore emotions and how to feel safe with your emotions. And we've been rolling out internationally to so many schools, and getting it out there into the world to help people feel safe with their emotions, because we know that that's the source of creating more emotionally intelligent leaders in the world, so we make better decisions for our planet.
Mhm. Wow, okay, so there's a lot to unpack in both of those, but
Yeah, there's a lot.
being
That's
being
only
somebody
a part of it.
who is, I do some, life and career coaching. One of the tools I use, helps break down people's communication styles, and some are emotive, some are cognitive, some are kinetic, and in my particular profile, the emotive languages are very much at the top.
Mm.
So, as a male in the world, being a emotional male is not always a celebrated trait. And it was a long journey for me to be okay with that and also to understand it. And both of those are important. Understanding it helps you live intentionally with it and purposefully. And then being okay with it also frees it to function in the way it's supposed to, without the judgment and the self condemnation and all of the self rejection.
Mm.
So that is profound and needed.
Yeah,
So
we're
I
working
love
with kids as young as 2 years old that, I just went to an early childhood center recently, and these kids, little ones, are saying, "My energy ball feels red because Johnny made it feel red," which is angry. So, we're teaching them how to understand, and, then you translate that into being an adult. They're not gonna turn to suppressants to deal with their emotions. We're gonna have
mhm.
healthier people, make healthier decisions, and contribute more to society in a healthier way. So it's got a beautiful sort of seventh generational, I feel, impact.
And how did that become something that you were passionate and part of?
Well, for 10 years, I built the Global Good Foundation, which was a charitable organization that touched the lives of 5 different countries and 50,000 children in finding their voice from abusive backgrounds. So mainly domestic violence. That was something that was very personal to me, which is why, your mess becomes your message. And so
Mm,
it became the elixir that helped other people. And we were working with some of the toughest cases in the system. Some of the kids that we worked with were in the too hard basket for the system. And so we worked with them on certain programs, but I got to a point where I realized that I had this up leveling of awareness where I suddenly realized that um, the very thing I was talking about, which was domestic violence, was the very thing I was attracting. So the more I was focusing on that, the more I was creating that in the ether. And so it really shifted my perspective on realizing that, one, it's a band-aid solution, and two, I'm talking about the problem and not the solution. And so I had to do a pivot and really look at, how do I go from the solution base as opposed to the problem base. And I remember one day sitting down in meditation, and I'm like, so how do I create sustainable change in society? How do I do something that is going to be beneficial to the world, where we get to the source of why these behaviors even happen when they're adults? And it came down to emotions. And so that's where, and then I literally wrote the children's program, which was our flagship program. I wrote it down, and it wrote through me. I was witnessing myself writing it, and at the same time, at this point, I was sitting on boards. I'd built a multi-million dollar tech company at the same time while I was doing that, and I was I was looking at myself write this, and I was sitting on some of the most prestige boards in Australia as a non-exec director, often the youngest and the only woman, and I thought, "You want me to work with kids? What?" It was just like this whole total trajectory of a change of life. And it kinda came in the form of guidance, if you call it your higher self or, God. For me, it felt like a connection with God, and it was working through me, and I watched myself write this program, which has now gone out, and we've rolled it out to thousands of children. Hundreds of educators have been trained in it, and I've been guided the whole way what to do next. And it was challenging. I tried to argue, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm over here on the tech world. I'm on boards. I'm in the corporate world, and you want me to jump ship and work with children? And it's just like a totally different trajectory. So, but I
100%.
trusted and I surrendered, and I took a massive pay cut as a result, but I just jumped ship, and people thought I was crazy. And I said, "Well, you wait, it will make sense later." And, 9 years on, and we're creating some incredible impact in the world. And now people are starting to get it.
It's amazing, and it's so needed. In particular, I mean, being a child is hard, period. Being a human can be hard. But,
Mhm, mhm.
in the tech world that these children are growing up in, I have a friend who works for an organization teaching parents about the harms of screen time and the impact of that on their development. And it's impacting different parts of the brain's development, but it's also limiting their socialization skills, which is where you develop how to handle those emotionally intelligent responses, cultivate them. How do I handle when I'm feeling a certain way and I don't want to, or when somebody's triggering me or making me feel this way? So the need for this is very timely for this generation. They're not getting that educational experience in the way that we did,
Yeah.
so it's going to come to them another way if they're going to grow up into healthy, functioning adults. So that's great.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is needed, and we, our generation of children that have come through are the first ones that have faced that world of isolation, especially with COVID and everything that happened. So the impact of that is yet to be realised. But we're working with the University of WA as well in really starting to quantify our programs in the school system, because we really want to make it a sort of staple, like a standard thing that children learn, because it's just not supported enough. There's a lot of mindfulness stuff out there, but this is really looking at the emotions. And what we've found is children as young as 6, we've had stories, and this is not unusual. We've had a 6-year-old who has done the first week of our program, and it might have been an at-home program because we've got an at-home as well. And they learn the concept that everyone has an energy ball. It sits in our heart. And sometimes someone might throw their energy ball at you and you might feel what they're feeling because you can only hold one energy ball at a time. And so it teaches them quite advanced levels of emotional awareness through a really fun concept of an energy ball. And we teach them how to put smiles into it, send it back. So there's compassion, empathy, all those elements and layers are there. But a 6-year-old, not unusual, parent rings me, "You won't believe what happened." My 6-year-old, I came home from work. I was so stressed out. And I walk in the door, and within a moment, my little 6-year-old goes, "Mum, don't throw your energy ball at me." So then she walks up to her and says, "Here, have my energy ball. It's green, which is calm." So you just unpack that, right? That is such an advanced level. First, she's been able, this particular child was able to go, in a second, intuitively pick up, "How's mum feeling?" Then discern, "I want that or I don't want that. Yes or no." And I'm like, "No, I don't want your energy ball." Then practice compassion and empathy by giving her her energy ball. So, most adults don't even know how to do that. So what we're
No.
hoping to do is shift that needle for the children that are coming in now. And we've got adult programs as well, but children that are coming in now to be able to give them that. And of course, we infuse sound therapy in the work. And it's, it's a beautiful journey so far.
And without realizing it, you're also teaching them about the quantum realm, because if you can say,
Mm.
put a smile in that energy ball and send it back, you're establishing an awareness in them that we are connected, that there's not separation,
Yeah.
and that you can actually impact somebody through that intangible act. And that's amazing. They'll grow up operating at a much higher level. Yeah,
That's the
that's
wish.
beautiful. So the frequency work that you're doing, you mentioned that you tune the orchestra down to 432 hertz. So for those who are new to orchestras or to frequency at all, how is that different than what an orchestra is normally tuned to?
Yeah, most of our music, everything we listen to is usually 440 hertz or a little bit, give or take. And that just means the cycle of the sound wave per second. So there's 440 cycles per second of the sound wave before it hits our ear. So what happens is it is said that 432, because it's slower, so it's 432 cycles, is said to have therapeutic qualities. There's also the metaphysical side of it, saying that it's the mathematical equation of the earth and there's of the universe. So there's a lot of other theories around that support the results we're seeing right now, some of the qualitative results, but we tune them down, and it's unheard of. You don't ever do this, and so we had to find very particular musicians who were willing to tune down their violins or their cellos or their violas. It was all strings because it's too hard to tune. It gets a bit hard to tune brass instruments and things like that. So that it is said that having a slower frequency as it hits our body, and then that becomes the dominant frequency in the room. And what happens is, by way of, if you believe them, mirror neurons or the mimicking of the body, it begins to mimic the dominant frequency in the room. And what that does is, if I put people under a microscope, they would be vibrating when they first came in at a certain rate. And then when they have that dominant frequency in the room, it starts to slow things down. And what it's meant to do is bring the body back into a state of homeostasis. So it's not unusual for people to feel tingling in their body where there's maybe emotional pain points that have been blocked, or emotional memory points, or they get heaviness, or they have emotional releases. We have to have health practitioners on board at our concerts to support people emotionally if they have, releases. And this is sort of what's happening at the moment. So it's pretty powerful. And I'm wanting to quantify it. So that's why we're working with with universities. I have a left and right brain thing going. So I love the left brain stuff, but I also love the really out there right brain stuff, so it's kind of like I bring the two together, and I want to quantify it if we can. It's very hard to really quantify, but if we can start to find that. And we're also doing a documentary called Does Sound Heal, which will be out soon, to really follow that journey. So it's pretty, and we're working with professors and scientists and all the sorts. So it's
Okay.
fun.
No, I love it. I have a friend who does sound healing with bowls and various other instruments as well. So he will love hearing about the work that you're doing, and I will look forward to sharing that. Um, so if 432 is supposed to be the frequency of the Earth, how is it, or why is it that 440 is the norm? How did that become the norm?
Yeah, it's said, if you look back on history, it's said that in Germany they decided to they were in different countries, they were doing different frequencies, just I don't know whether it was by accident or by purpose. And then they decided to make it consistent across the globe. So they decided on the 440 hertz. Now, there's a lot of theories around that it was done on purpose to, keep us out of our center. But, I've listened to a lot of beautiful music in 440 hertz, and I think I think we've got to keep a little bit of an open mind to that. And I base it on my experience. And so I've had some really beautiful experiences at 440, but I've had deeper experiences at 432.
Hmm. And how long has this been something that's been not only well, first in your awareness, how did you discover this? And then when did this become a mission for you?
Yeah, it was kind of parallel to when I was saying that I was moving away from the corporate and the multi-million tech company to, from boards and in corporate suits and all that. I say to people, I hung up my stilettos. And at the same time at that, the Alma education came in, the Children's Academy. It was exactly the same time that the music as well started to come through. And I was creating a beautiful program for conscious business leaders. And in that, I thought, I'll just create like a mindfulness track. So I spoke to a friend of mine. He's a beautiful soul, and he's a frequency alchemist in the US. His name is Ian Morris from Listening to Smiles, and his work is profound. And I thought I'll reach out to him and see if he can pull together some particular frequency tracks for the outcomes that I want. And because I actually interviewed him for a TV show that we were doing way back. We were launching a consciousness TV network at the time. And so I thought, I'll talk to him. So I reached out to him, and he compiled this and sent it to me. And I remember the day so vividly. I was sitting on the couch and pressing play on this music, and I pressed play on this music, and it unlocked something in me. I used to be a musician years ago. I grew up in a musical family, and I would, traveled around Australia in a back of a truck with a harmonica. So did the roadie thing, did the real, muso thing. But I stopped at 23 to go into business, and that was it. And I didn't sing for 15 years. But all of a sudden, here I was listening to this music, and suddenly I just started singing, and everything just started coming out of me. And I was like, what is happening? Like these ancient sounds, and I was sounding like a Native American Indian. And then I was singing this music. I'm like, whoa, what is happening? So it was literally just like flowed through me. So I was like, the musician in me was like, well, I've got to record this. So I recorded it, made a track. And then I thought, well, I'll run a workshop and just see how it goes and use the tracks. I'll just press play on the tracks that I've recorded, and they're in particular frequencies. And then I'll just go around people with a drum. And that's where it started, basically. That was the early stage. And then my beautiful partner, January, came into my life. And she was a profound, and is an incredible, she's in Encoder, the Encoder Symphony Orchestra with me. She's an incredible multi-instrumentalist and had, traveled the world and very experienced. And someone said to her, go and see Tenille play this music. It's really different. So she did, and we connected, and she introduced me to a plethora of incredible instruments. And that's where it all sort of began to unfold. And the main instrument was the Shruti box, which was traditionally used in Indian classical music to tune an orchestra, which, funnily enough, I now do with the Encoder Orchestra. But it is the main instrument that I started to use to write most of the songs that are in the orchestra now. And I back then didn't know the connection. And then it kind of went from there, and I for a decade I was working with hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people in every month. And someone mentioned to me, you should do this. A friend of mine said, "You should maybe think about doing this with an orchestra. My friend is, with this particular orchestra." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of happy being in my bubble, you know." And then it just it led me from there. It was just one boom, 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 synchronicity after synchronicity, and it became the Encoder Symphony Orchestra, which then became a concert that documentary that won 14 awards, and then that became another documentary that's coming out called Does Sound to Heal, and then now we're looking at touring the orchestra as well. So it's just been an epic journey of surrender and just following one thing after the next. I couldn't have
I
planned it if I
love it.
tried.
Yeah, but those are the best trips. Those are the best rides, whether it be
Yeah,
literally a vacation trip or just, what I call living life by the spirit. I mean,
yeah,
you're
that's what
living
it's
on the
been.
edge into the
Mm.
unknown, to quote, a Frozen song. Um, but that's honestly how I ended up connected to Lumi Vitae, was just that sort of guidance and
Yeah,
following the footsteps that were laid in front of me. So in the midst of all of that work that you're doing and changing lives, your life got changed
it
very
did.
significantly.
In all of that and in building, I'd built by this stage, I'd built multiple companies, global charity, a multi-million dollar tech company. I'd done so much, and I did it all with a severe chronic autoimmune illness. There were times where I would sleep under the boardroom table in between meetings because I was just in so much pain. And so I would do that, or I'd sleep in the back of a car because I had a meeting to go to next. It was debilitating what I had to, in some ways, live with. And it started when I was 16. I'm 43 now. And I, it was debilitating. I was in and out of hospitals. They couldn't tell me what it was. And, so they just pumped me full of drugs. And of course, that had side effects for a long time. And in the end, when I reached a certain level of just having enough of taking medication, I just went, right, there's got to be another way. And that led me down the path of, alternative, well, I don't even like that word. It was, there's natural therapies, which then led me into spiritual guidance, which then led me into all this, being able to open the intuition and realize that, oh, wow, there's this whole thing called, I remember working I was working in an oil and gas business in my early 20s before I started running my companies. And I said to this girl, had these angel cards. I'm like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Oh, there." And my mum's a medium. And I'm like, "What's that?" So it was just like I was right at the early stage. But that led me to really explore how I could, and it took me on this epic 35-year, what would I call it? Hero's journey
Yeah,
of
yeah.
ultimately, going through the dark night of the soul was the longest dark night of the soul ever. And, trying everything, seeing every specialist, doing everything. I went from all extremes, but the basic symptoms that I would live with was it would start with a blood nose. And that would be the trigger point. And then it would go into a migraine, severe migraine. My whole face would go numb on this side. Then I would lose my voice, which is not good when you're singing. Then
Mhm.
I wouldn't be able to breathe. So if I walked from here to a door, it was like I ran a marathon. So I couldn't breathe properly. I had rheumatoid arthritis crippling through my whole body. My muscles felt like I had cement blocks on them all over. So from head to toe, the pain was excruciating. And I didn't take any medication at this point because I just thought I'll just try and meditate through it, which is really where I got to, because I basically gave up. I basically thought, well, I've just got to live with this. Now, this debilitating illness would hit me every fortnight for 35 years. For 35 years, every single fortnight. And I knew, and it would come up, and I'm like, oh. So that's why I think I would try and get as much as I could get done in the early stages. So then I'd have 3 to 4 days debilitated in bed. And sometimes I'd go to sleep and think, I'm not going to wake up. It was so horrible.
Mm.
And pain, I can't even describe the level of pain that I was in. My partner has seen, a big part of that and had to support me through that. And it's really never been nice for any partner that I was, with. They didn't know what to do.
Of
All
course.
they knew was just leave her in a room and wait for 3 days and she'll come back out and feeling fine and I'll be energetic again.
Wow.
But, and things like it would affect, what I eat. So it got worse and worse. I couldn't eat certain things without having a flare up. I ended up just on a, pure plant-based diet, and really having to be careful, like no stimulants. I couldn't have like an English breakfast tea, or, things like that, which I used to love having. So all of these things started to get more and more intense. And I just got to a point where I surrendered that maybe this is just what I've got to live with. And I remember I did on Mind Valley Regan's course, The Art of Manifestation, and it was an incredible program. And at the parallel to that, I was doing the Jose Silva method. And in the Jose Silva method, which is done with Vishen through Mind Valley, one of the sessions I did was about my health. And I was just like, okay, imagining that the longest in my entire life I went without pain was 5 weeks. So I'll
Wow.
preface that with where I'm at now. So I'd done the Jose Silva method and visualized, my health, and then putting it out. Basically, you put it out and you say, to solve this problem, and then you just forget about it. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then next thing, I'm watching Regan's thing, and then I connect with her on Instagram. We get chatting. We're talking about the orchestra and about frequency because she's into music as well. And so we were really talking about that. And then all of a sudden, she posts something about liquid light, and I'm like, what's this liquid light thing? What is this? And she sent me the details, and before I could even read through it, my hand just did it and pressed buy. And
Mhm.
my partner was sitting with me, and I'm like, "Look at my hand, it's going." I'm like, "I'm not doing that." And it was literally just boom, and it pressed buy. And then I got the message, "This is going to heal you." And I was just like, "Whoa, okay." So it was all like just driven by, by something bigger than me. And just the thought of having maybe a month pain, 2 months pain-free, I would be sobbing, because it would just be like, "Oh my god, could that even be real? Could I even have that kind of life?" Because I've had so much time.
Mhm. Yeah,
It
you just
has been So I got my beautiful device and started drinking it, and ever since then, I've never had a flare-up. Now we're talking nearly 5 months. So I was just happy for
Wow.
1 month. But
Yeah,
I should have had about 7 episodes by now, and I've had none. And, it still gives me goosebumps, and I still feel the emotion of that, to be able to
absolutely.
have that life back. Like, and when I tell people, I'm like, "Don't you understand what a miracle this is?" Like, when people are interested in the product and I explain to them, like, what it's done for me,
Yeah,
and then they don't buy it, I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, this is a miracle." It's
yeah,
just like, I understand that, everyone's got their journey, but for me, it was just, this is literally like a miracle for me.
yeah.
Um, 5 months, and I should have had 7 episodes, so I've just gotten my life back. I can't even believe it. I still pinch myself thinking, "Holy crap, has this just happened?"
Seriously, I mean, but even more than some, you were still continuing to live a lot, like, you were still doing a lot, but with what you described, that can be very debilitating. I mean, my mom deals with, psoriatic arthritis, and I don't always know the difference in rheumatoid and psoriatic, but, just knowing what it's like for her to be constantly in pain, I mean,
Mm.
that's a lot to endure. So I
Yeah,
can't even truly fathom what it's like for you to now be able to live this long, truly pain-free.
it's incredible.
Um,
The rheumatoid arthritis is gone. It's just, I don't have it anymore. It's just incredible. Yeah.
do you find yourself still unlearning the programming that came from that many years? I mean, are there certain things that were norm that you brace that your system is still programmed to brace for or expect or do
Mm.
preventatively that you're like what?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because I suppose my vessel was already clean because I was clean eating. I was very sensitive to frequency, and obviously it's got frequency on the lid as well as the molecular hydrogen component. And I felt it, like I felt it go through the cells of my body, and I felt the fight initially between when a flare-up wanted to come up and the cells were trying to go, "No, this is what we were meant to do," to the new cells that were healthy going, "No, no, this is where we're going." I literally felt
Mm.
that, and I still do, like, if I have a symptom come up, like a little twinge, like I've got a little bit of a symptom, and so I have a few drinks, a few bottles of that, and then it goes. But I can feel the cells trying to like do the old way, and I literally in my body I can feel that fight happening. And I know it takes probably about 6 months because we get six, the cells regenerate in 6 weeks, but for it to really get through the whole body, you want to give yourself 6 months. And so I'm 5 months in, and I'm finding when I do have any symptoms, it and the reason why I've got a flare up is because I did get excited and eat something I probably shouldn't have eaten. It's just like, and I'm like, oh yes, I'm normal again. I can start eating normal food.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, just pace yourself, Tennille. Just take it easy. You'll get there, but just slowly, slowly. But yeah, I can feel the dance between the old and the new viscerally.
Now, of course, people are gonna wanna know, how quickly did you see the change for your body, and what's daily life looking like for you drinking from your Cell Power bottle?
Yeah, so it happened immediately for me. The
Really?
first cup that I had, I rang up January and I said, "Oh my god." And the reason before I say that, I preface that with my left brain, the sciencey side of me. I was just like, "I'm gonna be skeptical drinking this. I don't know if it's gonna work. It probably won't work." So I was trying to make sure that I wasn't gonna placebo myself and get caught up in the excitement within the community about the
Yeah,
device. And
for
I was
sure.
just like, "No, no, stay. I don't wanna placebo myself. I wanna make sure that I'm really, like, on the other side of this going, is this gonna be just another thing that I have spent so much over 35 years to probably buy 2 houses worth,
Yeah.
on my health to try and get better." And so when I got this, I was just like, "Oh, is this gonna be another thing?" And
Mhm.
I did that on purpose because I didn't want to placebo myself. But I took the first glass, and then all of a sudden I was just like, "Oh my goodness," and it was instant, and I rang up my partner and I'm like, "I feel high, like, I feel like I'm on something." I literally just was I was and the amount of work I got done in that day, it was insane. I was just like, it was just, and my clarity of thought and everything started to happen, and then it was probably a week later when I was due to have a flare up, and I did actually have the symptoms come on, like the traditional ones, and I could feel it, and I was like, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, the bottle." And, by this stage, I've been drinking so much anyway, but I drank more, and I actually had to help move a house that day. So normally I would be in bed and debilitated, but instead I thought, no, I'm just going to guinea pig this and see how I go. So
Mhm.
I downed a number of these and I was having all the symptoms start and the migraine was starting, everything was starting. And then I drank probably about two or three, I think 3 bottles of this. And then I was able to help move house for the rest of the day. So I was just like, "This is crazy." Like, I'm driving, I'm talking to people. I couldn't even talk when I was like this. So it was just like I'm engaging with humans. It's like awesome. And I'm driving and I'm doing stuff, like I'm functioning like a normal person. I should be in bed right now and I'm not. And that was the real moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, this could actually be it." So
Yes, for
I'm like,
sure.
it's amazing.
That is amazing. I mean,
Mm,
that gives hope to many, and I think it's probably, I don't know what the mind of the people who have heard your story and passed on the opportunity to get one in their life, but, everybody, as you said, everybody's got their journey, but, this gives hope because it's wonderfully simple.
yeah.
It's water, as you who have exhausted yourself, which is its own form of torture, is that these people who are suffering already then exert inexhaustible, efforts to try and find solutions, and that's its own taxing thing.
Yeah.
And hope deferred makes the heart sick. So then you deal with, like, how do you persist, and in the face of constant disappointment, and so
Mm,
to find relief is, yeah, it's a freedom and a depth of healing, yeah, that's been a long time coming for you, but for many, I mean, that's really the heart, right?
yeah.
To really want to
Yeah.
bring freedom to people's health, and bodies with no side effects,
No
and
side
it's
effects, so good.
mhm.
I was
Yeah,
just like,
right?
"Oh," I think I said to someone yesterday, I'm like, if only I knew about this 35 years ago, like I would have, because someone said about the investment of it. And I'm like, I spent enough to buy 2 houses. This is a no-brainer for me.
Mhm,
Like, you know, if
mhm.
I knew that it was only gonna cost me this much to fix this, I would have just been like, "Yeah, sign me up. Where do I start?" So for me, it's a very different paradigm because of the journey that I've had with it. But, you know, you
Yeah.
don't have to have massive, you know, any major illnesses or anything like that. I've had people who are very healthy in our team who've got one, and you know, they're very healthy, and they've said they've noticed so much like vitality. They feel young again. The skin is better. They've been what was one of the other ones? Yeah, there was just a sense of like, oh, the sugar cravings. So sugar cravings
Mhm.
went, things like that. So there's been a lot of that for just general health. And then
Yep.
other people who have come in that really want to address conditions, and they've been able to. So I'm not the only one that's been able to support that. So
No,
it's been
you're definitely
great.
not, and obviously everybody's body's gonna respond differently and uniquely, and there are varying things going on, in any particular system, right? We're a
Mm,
complex being, but,
yeah.
you know, as you've mentioned, it's not just what you're losing in terms of losing the pain, but it's also what people are gaining, you know, greater energy, vitality, better skin. You know, like for me, something simple like allergies, it's like, well, allergies were calmed for me through the holidays. Usually they were very explosive with multiple meds trying to calm my system down. And I didn't need that this year. And
Amazing.
that's, you know, that's not a 35-year debilitating pain thing, but that's like, you mean
It's
I
still
can just drink.
uncomfortable.
Absolutely. And it's like,
Yeah.
it's something as simple as like, you mean I can just drink water and not have to be popping pills that are gonna be impacting other systems and other organs in my body? I can just drink water and do that instead? Yeah, that's great.
Amazing.
So the simplicity of it is great, and then the divine intelligence of hydrogen, as we've been learning, is it goes to the root issue of whatever it is that somebody's body needs support in. So,
Yeah.
um, that's
So
gonna
I
be
think
exciting.
that's the thing that sold it for me. Once I started diving into the science, I was like, "Oh, okay, this actually makes logical sense. If it's going into it's the only smallest molecule it can get into penetrate into the cell membrane. It can hit the mitochondria, which is the power cell of the body. You know, it can upregulate the
Mhm.
ATP. It can upregulate the NRF2 pathways, which link to all of inflammation. And then when I thought, well, 45,000 illnesses, all of them connected to inflammation. Well,
Yeah,
that makes sense. This should
yep,
work.
yep.
Yeah.
It's fun being on this journey, because it is spirit-led. And so these coincidences and these God moments are not, they are surprising. They're enjoyable, not surprising.
They're
Um,
fun to witness.
it is fun. And, you know, I met a man the other day and we were actually talking about financial things because that's his area of expertise. But he asked about what I do as part of the meeting. And of course I shared with him. And he, I mean, there were no more financial questions on the table any longer. He dove
Mm,
headlong into this. He was like, I want to know more. Because when people have really, not necessarily always for a severe pain issue like yours, but if they've been very dedicated to their health journey, this conversation around mitochondria and ATP and upregulation, all those things make sense. And like everything I said, he was like, I get it, I get it, I get it, I get it. Tell me everything you can about it. Like, you know, and it's so fun to find those easy yeses.
mm,
Um, but there are people who are ready. They're ready for it, you
yeah,
know? And some people just have more questions, and that's great. But I loved what I heard a mom say at an event in Miami. She said, "Look, people are overwhelmed across the board. Everybody's overwhelmed. What should I eat? What should I drink? What should I take? What should
mm,
I do? How much sleep? How much working out? What like everybody's trying to look for the silver bullet. And what do I, you know, like the right diet, the right whatever." And she was like, "Moms and families and kids, like they're looking for simplicity." She said, "The
yeah.
simplest thing I can say is here. Every drink of water that you take should be from this. It's the best water you could put in your body. It is so simple. It helps so many different things. Even if you don't understand it all, it's going to work on your behalf. And every time your child is drinking from this, they are preparing their immune system for better health and vitality and strength. And it's so simple. It's one thing.
It's so
Just
amazing, and as you say that, I remember a moment where my sister had the water and my little nephew, who's 8, also had the water, and we put it on energy, and then next thing she's like, Can't believe I'm saying this, but no more water," because he was hyper. Like, I was just like, "Oh, no, no, he can have water. We'll just bring him down on the recovery setting, but it was really funny to watch, and she goes, "I can't believe this word's coming out of my mouth, but stop drinking the water."
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause he was
or just
just, like, bouncing around the room.
do the bass, do the hydrogen without the frequencies,
Do
if
yeah,
necessary.
yeah.
But it's
Keep it gentle.
I love the ease of it. I love the simplicity of it.
Mm,
I
mm,
also love how I feel. I mean, I love the hydration. I love the balanced energy. I've gotten off my pre-workouts. I've gotten off my caffeine.
amazing.
And that feels great, right? To not feel like I need something to lift me up to put me in performance mode.
Yeah,
Um, there are several other things, stable more stable digestion for
yeah.
me. Um,
But and the same for us, in our in for both of us with myself and January, like, we were following, and we still do, the medical medium, protocol, which was, celery juicing, heavy metal detox smoothie, and we were doing that to really help cleanse our body, and there's still so much validity in that, but what we've found as a default is we don't need as much celery juice, which for people who have done his protocol will know that, that's amazing because you go through so much celery, but
mhm,
we still have it because we actually love the impact of it. But because our cells are now upregulated, we're absorbing all of that so much more that we actually don't
yep,
need as much. And it's the
correct.
same with any kind of supplement or anything like
Yep,
that. So it really has like this multiple flow on effect of once the body is upregulated and the cells upregulated and your body's into a state of homeostasis, you can still do all those practices, but you don't need as much. So it's great.
yep, precisely. And the way that Nuno speaks of it, is that the body will then be awakened back to producing many of the things that we thought we needed to supplement. And so you hear Regan and Wampa say that their story was, that they were taking all of these supplements. Now they're off of all of them entirely because
Yeah.
what this is doing in their body makes it not necessary. So to your point about when people talk about the investment, I'm like, yeah, but look at what you're saving. You're saving on the
Uh-huh.
toxicity of the drugs that you'd be putting in your body. You're saving on, I don't eat as much because my body's actually hydrated and not masking thirst as hunger.
Yep.
um the pre-workouts and the workout recovery things, it's got a recovery program, so I'm not hitting that fitness industry expense there. um Greater, I don't know what I was going to say. Oh, less need for supplementation, right? So
Yep.
all of the costs that people have been putting into trying to be healthy by adding these things to our bodies that we've needed, those are now savings for
Yeah.
people, and
So,
it's one bottle used all the time.
amazing.
It's easy, but I adopted that mindset early because I had a mentor who said, "Look, everybody invests in their health. Um, you either do it on the front end to keep it, or you do it on the back end to try to get it back, but nobody escapes that investment."
Yeah,
And
that's such
so it's been easy for me to say yes to these things that are like have so many benefits and no negatives. When it's all
yeah.
upside,
It's
when it's
all
all
upside,
upside and
yeah.
no down.
Friend of mine, John, had said a beautiful quote where, I'll paraphrase him, but he said that, we don't think twice of investing in our car if it breaks down. You need new tires, you need new this, but, and we only use that car when we need it. But the
Yeah.
vehicle that we have here is one that we have 24/7. So
Mhm.
we shouldn't even think twice about investing in the vehicle that we have because, we this is the thing that's gonna keep us going. So it's
Yeah.
just like it's a really nice analogy of where we place our importance of our health and well-being.
And then you start to extrapolate that, like, when we get a healthy body and a healthy cell environment, right? Then things like sound frequency and sound therapy, those things like that can have an even deeper impact, right? Because the cells can
Absolutely.
actually function fully and can release what they're supposed to release. Like proper
Yeah.
hydration is foundational for so many things to actually improve in our life.
Yeah, well, we're already giving it to our audiences and giving them a cup of molecular hydrogen before they actually sit down into the session.
Brilliant.
And I explained to them that under a microscope, when you drink this, your cells literally light up. So there's a
Yeah.
ring of light around your cells and they start to flow again. And so by us doing that, you're actually like the light frequency is already activated in your body. And then your ability to infuse the frequency that you're receiving routine is so much better. And yeah, we do find great results. And I think I was speaking to Regan yesterday, and she was saying that in there at the Nest at the Costa Rica, they've found that the results have doubled. Normally, what their clients who come in, they've seen them drinking the hydrogen water and receiving double the results of what they would normally. So, because and the only thing they've added is the hydrogen water. So yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It is, and in that tying it even into the emotional work that you're doing, it's like we can release things much more easily. Stagnant systems hold emotions. That we are an integrated being, spirit, mind, and spirit, soul, and body. And so when the body's stuck in some way, it does actually store that emotional
Mm.
that energy as well. And so when the body can get healthier more easily, those things will be easier to release, probably with a lot less drama to the
Yeah,
release. It can just
that's
sort of
right.
flow instead of, being purged, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I think people have had and found by drinking this that those old, cellular memories of those emotional pain points or pain body memory has been released in a detox method, and they've felt that release, as a result of drinking the water as well, because our cells hold memory. So, yeah,
Yes,
it's
they
pretty
do.
amazing.
They do, and I had a mentor, years ago who said, "Trauma has a sound, and that we store it in our cells." And I've been honored and fortunate in just being who I am in the life I've lived and traveled and whatnot, that I tend to create safe spaces for people to be able to tap into those places that need to be able to release that sound, and to bear
Mm,
witness to that is something that's sacred. But it's also beautiful that they're able to let that out. And now, that's just one other tool in their bag. And you're doing sound, I would call it sound ministry, sound healing, sound therapy.
mm.
It's an exciting time to be, um,
Alive.
it is to be alive and growing in aliveness,
Yeah,
becoming more alive. And I'm excited about what the human potential really is as we unlock what molecular hydrogen does in the human form.
yeah.
I think it's going to be exciting to see, because
Mm.
as these experts have said, we've operated at such a diminished capacity for so long that when we really optimize, we might really surprise ourselves about what's possible,
I
and
reckon.
that's exciting.
I reckon we're gonna be waking, and it's so timely of where we're at. The age of Aquarius is all about water, and it was funny before the water and the liquid light came along, or the Luma Vitae came along into my life. I had this instant feeling like I grew up in the bush, but all of a sudden I said to January, I want to be by the water now. I don't want to live in the bush anymore. I want to live by the water. I'm feeling this massive call to water, and then all of a sudden, boom, this came along. It's just like,
Yes, it's another one of those synchronicities. It's like
mm,
I did an interview with this beautiful woman, Kara, and I'd never met her. I came across her through a spiritual mom who also got a lot of downloads about water. And Kara had said the spirit told her years ago, I think 6 or 7 years ago, that we were entering the era of water and the age of hydrogen. And I was like, "Excuse me,
yeah,
um,
wow.
we need to talk, because there's a whole lot happening with both of those right now." And it was such just another one of those beautiful confirmations. So a lot of people are hearing the call, and it's so fun to meet the incredible people who have already had, like, the spirit seed has been planted, and then they come across, they're like, "Oh, this was the thing I was waiting for. This was the thing that,
Yeah,
was calling me." And it's fun, like we've never met. We're on the opposite sides of the world, but these beautiful people and conversations are being had, and I'm here for it. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying the ride
mm,
1000%. Now you guys just had a road show there in Perth recently. How was
mhm.
the community gathering? This is the first time you guys have had a community gathering since the company's in pre-launch. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing. So we had there was like a little pre-lunch that we had the day before. So we got to spend some time with Dr. Michelle Patrick and Taryn. Nuno, I don't think he had landed then, but then yeah, we got to, what the numbers we had in the room was great. The room was full. So, people were hungry for that information, and, the science, Nuno went deep dive into the science. And so a lot of people who had their bottle, followed it, but a lot of people who didn't were like, huh? So it was kind of like this journey of, trying to teach them the science of it. And it was, but it was so great, meeting with Taryn and Dr. Michelle, and just, the people behind it. And, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to actually meet Nuno personally because I had to race off early at the end, which I wish I could have, but it was a family emergency, unfortunately. So I had to leave. But yeah, I really wanted to just take a moment and just, I've said it to Taryn and I've said it to Regan, you know, that they're the reason for 35 years you've given me my life back, and I wanted to thank, when the time is right, and I trust that it will happen, I'll get to say thank you. And I'm sure many people have said that to him, but to be able to just give that gratitude for this incredible technology that has been brought to the world. So there was a real upliftment in the room, excitement, and people were, there was a real energy, a real buzz.
No, that's good. That's great because I think that not I think I know that the community aspect of what we're building is actually one of the huge reasons to be part of it.
Yeah.
Um, in the social climate that we've been immersed in for a number of years with such division and
Mm,
conflict and tension and contention and cancellation, to have a community that's looking to intentionally increase the light in the world through bringing health to people in a simple way, to bring
yeah.
abundance to people in a generous way, people who are heart led, spirit led, intentionally trying to create positivity in the world. There should be, but there's no price for being able to be around that, because what it's doing to your mental and emotional state, much less to your physiology, to your beliefs about life, to your outlook, your possibilities, like the
Mm,
cost of what has become the norm socially, globally, is extreme. So I don't often bring it up in like a real salesman kind of way, but this is an environment that people want to be in and should want to be in, and it will be good for their life. I mean, the health side will be its own thing, the technology will work,
yeah.
but to be around people like this will upgrade your life as well,
Mm,
and there's,
mm,
and it's a tremendous value. The
yeah.
leaders, and what they're giving and what they're training and what they're teaching, what they're embodying, um you don't have to even understand it all. I've seen things in my life begin to flow with greater ease since I said yes and stepped in. It's like I stepped into the divine alignment that this company is in right now, that God's doing something through these people for such a time as this in the earth. And I'm benefiting in other areas of my life simply because I'm connected to it. And I
Mm,
fully believe that that is going to be the experience that other people have.
yeah.
I've been talking about doing a talk show for years. I've been a public speaker and spokesperson, and this has been a dream of mine that I've wanted to do. And suddenly, I mean, literally, after I said yes to that, this is now becoming a thing that I am doing, and it's with such ease. And that's one of
Mm,
the hallmarks of divine alignment, is just the ease with which
yeah.
something flows, not rise and grind. I don't ascribe to that mindset, because I don't think that that's the highest way for God's people to create.
Correct.
Um, but I
Yeah.
believe that there are a lot of fringe benefits to being part of what's happening here. And I
Mm,
want that for people. I want the best for people anytime, always. So, if this resonates with whoever hears this, we want you to be part of this. We love being here, and we all have our other things, but we love this community, and we love this inventor and these leaders and what this company's heart and mission is. And we're giving heart and time, talent, treasure to it. So, zero coercion. If it's a no for you, great. I bless a clear no. And God's like, no, great. Absolutely. Keep moving.
yeah.
But for those for whom it's a yes, we are excited, and it is a beautiful thing happening here.
Yeah. And many of the people who have, who I've introduced it to have had the same experience. They've said, "I don't know why, but I just felt very called to do this. This is." They understand that there's something bigger at play here. It's not just about, which is not, it's not a just, but yeah, it's not just about how incredibly profound this is going to, how this is going to disrupt so many industries as well, because we're going to make people well, which is really, it's time. I think we've been, poisoned on so many levels in so many ways through our food, through our environment, through our water, everything, and it's time for us to be able to have some kind of support in our evolution. And I feel like that this is being gifted via Nuno, through Nuno, to us as, that piece of the puzzle. We
Mhm.
have we have literally gone through the human collective dark night of the soul, and trudged through the mess and got out the other side, and now it's like,
Mhm.
here, have this elixir. Here's something I
Yeah,
created.
it's like a washing. It is.
Yeah.
It's like a washing from the toxic sludge that was just
Mhm.
thrown on the world for
Yeah,
too
yeah.
long.
Too long.
And yeah, and so this is a welcome reprieve and new era, new season, new chapter, and it is absolutely something that God's doing. And it's only the second time in my life that he got my attention. The God got my attention without, like, very explicitly. I was going in a different direction. It was like, no, go here. It's only
Go
the
this
second
way.
time. Yeah, only the second time that it was very, very like overtly getting my attention kind of thing. So it's like there's more
Mm,
to it than just me thinking well of it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and that's
No,
and that's
it's
I think
definitely,
why we see so many varying but confirming spirit-led stories around all of this, because there's something
mm,
greater at work. I don't even think
yeah.
we fully get it. I mean, we have glimpses, but I don't think
I
we
like to
fully.
call them I like to call them cosmic breadcrumbs.
Yeah,
We get
yeah,
given
yeah.
we get given, like, a little breadcrumb, and then we can kind of figure out, okay, what does that mean? And it's just like, and the one thing I realize is that, I have my plan, and then that's there to distract me while the plan is going on. And it's like, okay, now give her the next breadcrumb, and then that'll throw my plan off. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're going this way. And that's literally how my life has been. It's just been,
Yeah,
realizing in this true essence of surrender, and trusting that guidance. And
yeah,
it's never let me down over the last 10 years. It was when it sort of came in, and ever since then, it's never let me down. It's always guided me correctly, and it was the same with this. And this to me was, yeah, it was, I kind of had this moment when I realized, and it dropped in, and I was just like, oh my god, this is going to change the world. Like, this is going to shift not only the consciousness of humanity, but it's going to shift everything. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, what we have in our hands, people don't realize. It's just like, whoa.
yeah. And it's going to be a redemption of the phrase that became so. I think we all got tired of hearing it, but like a new normal. I think this
Mm,
is going to create a new normal, but in the best way. I think where
yes.
we're so often using that in terms of like, well, this was hard and this sucks, but this is the new normal. No, no, no.
Mm.
This is a washing and a redemption, and we are birthing something of a new normal that's a beautiful thing, not a
Yeah.
negative thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Well, your story is beautiful and your work in the world is beautiful, and I'm excited
Thank
that more
you.
people are going to discover it. For those who
Thank
want to connect with you, here is her website, and all roads, all social roads stem from there. So she said you can find all the things about all the different things at that one location, which should be
all my
nice and
different
easy.
hats are on there.
Yeah, which is great. It makes it
Yeah.
easy for everybody. What is the next thing on your radar with the many hats you have? What are you working toward?
Yeah, so we're getting close to the launch of Does Sound Heal, the documentary. So that's coming. And, a big part of what I'm doing with Alma Education, where we've just finished a study in India for 1,000 children doing the program. It's been very successful. And so we're looking at further rollout of that. So that's sort of, a big undertaking and happening, and translations into different languages and dialects. So that's going to be fun. And then, of course, for me, what has been now absorbing a big part of my life is getting this device into as many hands as possible. This has become almost like, a mission for me, because I said to God, if you find the thing and bring the thing to me that will heal me, my contract with you is that I will not shut up about it. I will tell everyone, and that's what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
so that contract is now activated. So that's a big part of what's next
I
for me
love
as
it.
well.
I love it. And I love it too because, I your story's another, but I've reached out to people who had been dealing with things that they had just lost hope that there was a solution for. And nobody can guarantee anything and nobody's making claims of a particular guarantee, but
Mm,
this is something that people haven't tried that is having incredible results for people who had also tried everything and lost hope.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm always say to people, look, this is my personal testimony, but if it can reverse the multiple irreversible conditions that I've got. It's not medical advice, but do your research. I give them everything to do their research, but for me, it's a miracle. It really is a miracle for me that I've been able to reverse irreversible conditions. So, yeah,
absolutely.
amazing.
And I can't wait to see you in the flesh. I think we're all very excited to gather from the various parts of the world for the official launch in
To launch
July
in Miami,
for any and
yes,
all who can make it.
yes,
We know that everyone won't be able to, but we're excited about gathering and putting flesh to flesh
yep.
together. How will we be able to monitor where your documentary gets distributed? Will that be on your website? Do you have distribution already
Yeah.
secured?
Yeah, so we're in talks at the moment,
Okay,
and there's a few very exciting opportunities on the horizon. But yeah, on my website, if you go to the Encoder in the Encoder website, which is the orchestra, there's a documentary link, and you can register for the pre-release, so then you know when it's coming out.
okay, great. I've got my homework. And we do thank you, Tenille, for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for
Thank
getting up
you.
really early to do this at a time
That's all
that
good.
worked for our both of our parts of the world. And if you, as a watcher, listener, enjoyed what we had to say, connect with Tenille at her website. You guys know how to find me at my socials. And if you were shared this story because of Tenille's incredible testimony story with somebody who is connected to Lumivite, go back to that person and they can help you figure out how to get a cell power bottle into your life and your family and your friends. And if you heard about it through us, then contact us and we will help you as well. We're excited about you. We bless your life. Thank you for your time, for listening to our stories and our conversation. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.